had been asleep longer than he thought. Nearer and nearer came the music, a tune wild and yet dreamy, and the noise of many light feet, till at last, out of the wood into the moonlight, came dancing shapes such as Caspian had been thinking of all his life. They were not much taller than dwarves, but far slighter and much more graceful. Their curly heads had little horns. The upper part of their bodies gleamed naked into the pale light, but their legs and feet were those of goats. "Fawns!" cried Caspian, jumping up, and in a moment they were all round him. It took next to no time to explain the whole situation to them, and they accepted Caspian at once. Before he knew what he was doing, he found himself joining in the dance. Trumpkin, with heavier and jerkier movements, did likewise, and even Truffle Hunter hopped and lumbered about as best as he could. Only Knickerbrick stayed where he was, looking on in silence. The fawns fluttered at all round Caspian to their reedy pipes. Their strange faces, which seemed mournful and merry all at once, looked into his dozens of fawns, Mentius and Obentius, and Dumnus, Volons, Voltinus, Gerberus, Nominius, Gnosis, and Oskins. Pattertwig had sent them all. When Caspian awoke next morning, he could hardly believe that it had not been a dream, but the grass was covered with little cloven footmarks, or hoof marks. End of chapter 6. I, for one, am happy the Legend of Zelda music started playing as I got to the part with the fawns coming in and him hearing the music. Welcome back, Cass. I appreciate you coming back. And yes, I heard Dire Dire Docks as well. Always a nice theme to hear. IMO. Hello again. I will be loved. Thanks for letting me finish. How are you doing? Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. Excellent chapter 6 reading through. Thank you, Summer. I really appreciate that. Water. You learned the Dire Dire Docks theme on piano. That's really cool. Props on that. It's a good theme to have. I hope everybody's having or had an enjoyable Monday. And I hope you're having a pleasant evening or morning, depending on where you are. It's nice to be able to stream again. Nice to do this kind of relaxed type of thing. To kind of end perhaps what may have been a tough Monday. A tough start of the week. The beginning's always the hardest to get through. But we can make this happen together, everybody. We can make it through. I hope this helps a little bit. Bring some relaxation at the end of the first day of the week, work week. Nobody reads chapter 6 better than me. Well, I appreciate that. I've not heard other chapter 6s. Well, maybe once. Definitely twice. Nope. Okay. I don't know what the nope was in response to. I was having internet problems yesterday, and I hope it's better today. I think it is. Love them to unwind. Oh, I'm glad. Alright. I think I'm going to move on to the next chapter, so don't mind my delays. Thanks again for understanding. Oh, okay. Okay, I thought you were saying nope to I don't know what some of the guys said. And I said a lot of stuff, so... a couple people said... a couple people kind of needed it tonight from what I could tell. And while I don't think I'm necessarily the best option for that, I'm glad to be an option and hopefully help out in whatever way I can. I'm sorry you're having a rough go of it, Tom. Thank you for thinking that I'm awesome. How about that? Yeah, that seems like the best response I have for that. Alright, we're gonna move on to the next... And yes, English is weird. I agree. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you for saying so. But let's move on to the next chapter. Thought I heard voices. Oh well, probably just insane. That's fine. Whatever. It's cool. Chapter the 7th. Old Narnia in danger. The place where they had met the fawns was, of course, Dancing Lawn itself, and here Caspian and his friends remained till the night of the great council, to sleep under the stars, to drink nothing but well water, and to live chiefly on nuts and wild fruit. It was a strange experience for Caspian, after his bed with silken sheets in a tapestried chamber at the castle, with meals laid out in gold and silver dishes in the anteroom, and attendants ready at his call. But he had never enjoyed himself more, never had sleep been more refreshing, nor food tasted more savory, and he began already to harden, and his face wore a kinglier look. I prefer savory food over sweet food, FYI. When the great night came, and its various strange subjects came stealing into the lawn by ones and twos and threes, or by sixes and sevens, the moon then shining almost at her full, his heart swelled as he saw their numbers and held their greetings. All whom he had met were there, bulgy bears and red dwarves and black dwarves, moles and badgers, hares and hedgehogs, and others whom he had not yet seen, 5 satyrs as red as foxes, the whole contingent of talking mice armed to the teeth and following a shrill trumpet, some owls, the old raven of Ravenscar, last of all, and this took Caspian's breath away, with the centaurs came a small but genuine giant, Wimbleweather of Dead Man's Hill, carrying on his back a basketful of rather seasick dwarves, who had accepted his offer of a lift, and were now wishing they had walked instead. The bulgy bears were very anxious to have the feast first, and leave the council till afterward, perhaps till tomorrow. Reepicheep and his mice said that the councils and feast could both wait, and proposed storming mirrors in his own castle that very night. Pattertwig and the other squirrels said they could talk and eat at the same time, so why not have the council and feast all at once? The moles proposed throwing up entrenchments around the lawn before they did anything else. The fawns thought it would be better to begin with a solemn dance. The old raven, while agreeing with the bears that it would take too long to have a full council before supper, begged to be allowed to give a brief address to the whole company. But Caspian and the centaurs and the dwarfs overruled all these suggestions and insisted on holding a real council of war at once. When all other creatures had been persuaded to sit down quietly in a great circle, and when, with more difficulty, they got Pattertwig to stop running to and fro and saying, "Silence, silence, everyone, for the king's speech." Caspian, feeling a little nervous, got up. "Narnians," he began, but he never got any further, for at the very moment Camillo the hare said, "Hush, there's a man somewhere near." They were all creatures of the wild, accustomed to being hunted, and they all became still as statues. The beasts were all turned their noses in the direction which Camillo had indicated. "Smells like man, and yet not quite like man," whispered Truffle Hunter. "It's getting steadily nearer," said Camillo. "2 badgers, and you 3 dwarves with your bows at the ready. Go softly off to meet it," said Caspian. "We'll settle him," said a black dwarf grimly, fitting a shaft to his bowstring. Don't shoot at it if it's alone, said Caspian. Catch it. Why? Asked the dwarf. Do as you're told. Do as you're told, said Glindstorm the centaur. Everyone waited in silence while the 3 dwarves and 2 badgers strided stealthily across to the trees on the northwest side of the lawn. Then came a sharp, dwarfish cry. Stop! Who goes there? And a sudden spring. A moment later, a voice, which Caspian knew well, could be heard saying, all right, I'm unarmed. Take my wrists if you like, worthy badgers. But don't bite right through them. I want to speak to the king. Dr. Cornelius! Cried Caspian with joy, and rushed forward to greet his old tutor. Everyone else crowded round. Pah! Said Knickerbrick, a renegade dwarf, a half and halfer. Shall I pass my sword through its throat? Be quiet, Knickerbrick, said Trumpkin. The creature can't help its ancestry. This is my greatest friend and the savior of my life, said Caspian, and anyone who doesn't like his company may leave my army at once. Dearest doctor, I am glad to see you again. However did you find us out? By a little use of simple magic, your majesty, said the doctor, who was still puffing and blowing from having walked too fast. Know that feeling. But there's no time to go into that now. We must all fly from this place at once. You are already betrayed, and Miraz is on the move. Before midday tomorrow, you will be surrounded. Betrayed? Said Caspian. And by whom? Another renegade dwarf, no doubt, said Knickerbrick. By your horse, Destrier, said Dr. Cornelius. The poor brute knew no better. When you were knocked off, of course, he went dawdling back to his stable in the castle. Then the secret of your flight was known. I made myself scarce, having no wish to be questioned about it in Miraz's tortured chamber. I had a pretty good guess from my crystal as to where I would find you. But all day, that was the day before yesterday, I saw Miraz's tracking parties out in the woods. Yesterday I learned that his army is out. I don't think some of your pure-blooded dwarfs have as much woodcraft as might be expected. You left tracks all over the place. Great carelessness, at any rate. Something has warned Miraz that old Narnia is not so dead as he had hoped, and he is on the move. Hurrah! Said a very shrill and small voice from somewhere at the doctor's feet. Let them come. All I ask is that the king will put me and my people in the front. What on earth? Said Dr. Cornelius. Has your majesty got grasshoppers or mosquitoes in your army? Then, after stooping down and peering carefully through his spectacles, he broke into a laugh. By the lion, he swore, it's a mouse. Signor Mouse, I desire you better acquaintance. I am honored by meeting so valiant a heart. So valiant a beast, not so valiant a heart. My friendship you shall have, learned man, piped Reepicheep, and any dwarf or giant in the army who does not give you good language shall have my sword to reckon with. Is there time for this foolery? Asked Knickerbrick. What are our plans, battle or flight? Battle if need be, said Trumpkin, but we are hardly ready yet. And this is no very defensible place. I don't like the idea of running away, said Caspian. Hear him, said the bulgy bears. Whatever we do, don't let's have any running, especially not before supper, and not too soon after it either. Those who run first do not always run last, said the centaur, and why should we let the enemy choose our position instead of choosing it ourselves? Let us find a strong place. That's wise, your majesty, that's wise, said Truffle Hunter. But where are we to go? Asked several voices. Your majesty, said Dr. Cornelius, and all your variety of creatures, I think we must fly east and down the river to the great woods. The Telmarines hate that region. They have always been afraid of the sea, and something they may have come over the sea. That is why they have not let the great woods grow up. If the traditions speak true, the ancient Cair-vette was at the river mouth. All that part is friendly to us and hateful to our enemies. We must go to Aslan's How. Aslan's How? Said several voices. We don't know where that is, or what that is. It lies within the skirts of the great woods, and is a huge mound which Narnians raised in very ancient times over a very magical place, where there stood, and perhaps still stands, a very magical stone. The mound is all hollowed out within our galleries and caves, and the stone is in the central cave of all. There is room in the mound for all our stores, and those of us who have most need of cover and are most accustomed to underground life can be lodged in the caves. The rest of us can lie in the wood. At a pinch, all of us,